The Houston Midtown chapter of the Society for Financial Awareness presents Money Matters with your host, Christopher Hensley.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to KPFT Houston. I'm Chris Hensley. The time is now 10 a.m., and we have a great show lined up for you today. You know, 1 in 5 Houstonians have very low literacy skills. So low that they have difficulty entering into the job market. Now, that's about 1 million Houstonians if you look at it on scale across the city. And we also have employers out there that need an educated workforce. What are we to do? Well, we have with us today Sheri Foreman and Jackie Aguilera. They are with the Houston Center for Literacy, and we are going to do a deep dive into a program called English at Work, as well as other things along this topic. So please stay tuned. Keep listening. If you're a longtime listener, you know that we always use the first few minutes of the show to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the Gulf Coast, Houston metropolitan area. Wow, we are here in April, and we're actually at the tail end of April now. And if you've been listening, you know I've been talking about I'm a partner with Houston Money Week, as Jackie, who is here in the studio with us today, is also a partner with Houston Money Week, and we have been building this up since about November of last year, and we are finally here. And even though it's called Houston Money Week, is it over in the first week of April? It is not. We have several, I would say hundreds of events going on across the city of Houston for low, moderate income, really anybody who's looking for financial literacy or financial advice. It is available free during Financial Literacy Month. We have Houston Money Week as the representation of it here in Houston. I want to point you to the website, houstonmoneyweek.org. You're able to go into that website, put your zip code in there, and you can find activities, workshops, seminars that are going to be local to you, or you can go in by topic. So if there's a specific topic that you're looking for, retirement, Social Security, I know we just finished tax season there, so hopefully you're not still messing with taxes, but if you file an extension and you are at the right place. Houston Money Week has several different topics for you there. But just wanted to encourage you to take a look at that. Keep looking. I believe it's going to go on all the way to the end of April, maybe even some in May, depending on what we have going on. With that, let's go ahead. I want to have as much time with Jackie and Sheri as we possibly can, since they are here live in the studio. Hello, how are you doing?
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, Jackie, I rarely will have reoccurring guests. That's just...
Well, thank you for the pleasure, Chris. I appreciate it.
Not on purpose. That's just how it's been. Over the 3 years I've been doing this show, I've only had a couple of people that we've had on multiple times. But, Jackie, you are a reoccurring guest, which is a good thing. But now, the last time you were on, you were with Eastside University.
That's right, yes.
And you have had a role change, and that would be a good segue into what we're going to talk about today. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, you know, the transition is actually related because at Eastside University, of course, we were dealing with adult education and building up empowerment issues within the community. And now I've had the opportunity to transition to the Houston Center for Literacy, which is the Mayor's Commission on Adult Literacy for Houston. And so now the whole focus is on a much wider scale. We're looking at empowering community-based organizations, schools, so that they can continue the services and be able to impact even greater numbers. And my transition as the manager of programs for English at Work is allowing me to participate in a project that will help employers as well as employees become more empowered financially and have better guest relations, customer relations, and to build capacity and, of course, contribute financially to the families of our city as well as to the city itself.
So thank you for that, Jackie. That sounds like a very good match from what you were doing, because when we were talking about Eastside. So we're lucky enough to have the CEO and president of Houston Center for Literacy, Sheri Foreman, in the studio with us today. And I always will share the bio. Jackie, you updated us on yours, so I'll share Sheri's bio with listeners so that they can get to know you a little bit better. Now, Miss Sheri Foreman began her career with the Houston Center for Literacy, what formerly used to be known as the Houston Reed Commission, in 2007 as the Chief Operating Officer, or the COO, and was named President CEO in September of 2009. Ms. Foreman is an advocate for adult education, literacy, and skills development. She has been nationally and in Houston honored by the former First Lady Deputy Barbara Bush for her efforts to improve adult education and literacy in Houston. Ms. Foreman currently serves on the Texas Workforce Commission, Adult Education Advisory Board, the Houston Community College Adult Education Steering Committee, and Advisory Board in the City of Houston Task Force for Welcoming Houston Department of Immigration and Refugee Services. Whew, okay, let me get a breath there. Sheri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, so tell us a little bit about the Houston Center for Literacy, what it is, maybe a little bit of history, because I know it's been...
Sure. So the Houston Center for Literacy was commissioned out of the mayor's office about 30 years ago by Mayor Kathy Whitmire, and our charge is to support adult education and skills development for adults throughout the city of Houston. Currently, we support close to 75 organizations, almost every adult education nonprofit program and agency that you've seen in the city of Houston. We work with partners all over the city. Some of the big ones, neighborhood centers, AMA, Avance, Chinese Community Center, Community Family Center, Search, you name it. If they have an adult education department or program, we work with them and support them. Our goal in this year is to really focus on our two new programs, English at Work and the community-based job training program. We're trying to work with adults where they are at the job site and in their communities to help them gain the skills they need, whether it's literacy skills, adult education skills, GED classes, English skills, or certification programs to get them into higher paying jobs and take their families into a better place.
Wow, both of those sound like really good programs. Mm-hmm. Now, Jackie, I'm on Facebook. I've seen you at some of the campuses teaching some of these classes. Is this part of that program?
Absolutely. Yes. Here it is. One of the challenges that we've had traditionally is getting our students to classrooms, to community-based organizations. So what English at Work has allowed us to do is to take the educational opportunities into the workplace. So we have our employees who are already on site. They're already working there. The traditional challenges of transportation, child care, scheduling, everything is adopted for this program. So we come into the workplace, we work with the employers, we discuss the needs of the employees and the employer for customer service, guest relations, safety, and being sure that there is a transitional pipeline for someone who is trying to survive on minimum wages to actually get in a thriving wage capacity. We have some of our classes that I've posted at the airport where we are working with PJS Janitorial Services, and we're working with their employees, some who have reported they used to hold their heads down when they were pushing carts, or they were afraid to answer the telephone when they have messages from their supervisors because they couldn't understand, they couldn't respond, and now they're holding their head up. They're inviting questions. Their supervisors are reporting better performance, better engagement. This is a win-win situation for employer and employees, and of course it's going to grow the company, and of course that means dollars, and it's going to translate into a better performance standard and better economic input for the company, the employee, and of course in our community.
I love that. So I saw the pictures on Facebook where you were out teaching and doing these programs. Sheri, tell me a little bit more, maybe from the employer side, how does this cost anything? This sounds like such a great program. Is there a cost associated with it? Or
this year we have a grant to pilot the program throughout the city of Houston. So the cost to employers is actually very minimal. We do ask for a shared cost model with employers in that the employer provides the space for the class. They provide internet, Wi-Fi. They provide sometimes, and most of our employers have done this, incentives for the employees to help with the retention in the class. For example, PJS, Professional Janitorial Services, they have 1,600 employees throughout the city. They have been amazing to work with in this program. They actually there's a technology component to the class. So the students or the employees will go to class 4 hours a week. Maybe Monday, Wednesday, they overlap 1 hour of the last hour of their shift, and then the employer will pay them for that. Then 1 hour of their own time after work. So they may go 4 hours a week, but there's a distance learning component, and the employees are able to get on Burlington English, which is a distance learning computer program. It is contextualized for the employer. So all of the distance learning vocabulary and all of the lessons, if we're at a manufacturer's work site, it's in manufacturing. If we're at an electrical work site, the vocabulary is electrical. If we're in customer service at a hotel, it's customer service vocabulary. So it's contextualized for the employer, very specifically for the work that the employees are doing. So Professional Janitorial Services purchased tablets for each one of their employees, allowed their employees to use a tablet throughout the course for the distance learning component. When the course was over, the employees were allowed to keep their tablets.
Wow.
So it was an incentive for the employee. They knew they were going to get the tablets at the end of the course. They're 2-month courses. There are 4 modules, 2 months apiece. The students can actually, or the employees can take up to 8 months of courses, but it's customer service, health, environmental, and safety, employee soft skills, and then customer service too. So there are different modules very specific for employers to help employers, but the benefit to the employers is increased employee retention, reducing turnover, reducing accidents and injuries on the job, and improving quality control. So for an employer, it only makes sense to give your employees the skills, because a lot of employers, they do a lot of environmental health and safety. They have to talk about chemicals in the workplace. They have to talk about fire extinguishers. They may be giving the courses and make assumptions that the employees completely understand what they're talking about. But if the employee can't speak English and doesn't understand the technical terms for the courses that they're taking, they're not really going to understand it.
Wow.
So it helps them in a lot of different ways.
So you said a lot there. I'm just going to kind of go back over some of the stuff because this is super important. I imagine for this to be successful, having an advocate there at the company or the corporation is huge for it to work, to do what it's supposed to do. And for them to go up and over just being an advocate, but to do the incentives like to have the tablets and to even sometimes getting companies even for self-development to allow them the time to do that. So for them to pay while they're on the clock for an hour, that's huge. That's awesome. So you also said that this is very specific to the industry that they're working in. It can be kind of dialed into what the need is there. And as the former COO, a lot of the decision makers for whether they're going to be out there, they like that you have to translate it into dollars. So when you were talking about things like increased employee retention and being able to know for quality assurance that they are understanding what even if you're instructing them and following everything and there's a language gap there, I can see where that's all tied in. So to be able to translate that to the COO or the HR or whoever, that's super important.
And there's one other thing. We have a lot of employers and they working with a population sometimes in their workplace speak only a different language, whatever that language may be. It may be Afrikaans or Spanish, or we have people from all over the world in our city. Our employers have identified sometimes employees that are supervisor material, maybe foreman material, but they lack the language skills to take over those positions. So it's really beneficial to the employer to give those employees those skills, because all of a sudden, instead of bringing people from the outside to take over these supervisory positions or these foreman positions or scheduling positions, they're able to take some of the employees they currently have and move them up into higher paying and more managerial roles.
Now, if I was an employer right now after hearing this, I would want to take advantage of this. It sounds like a great program. How could I become involved with English at work, either as a host business site or a participant?
Well, Chris, that's where all our partnerships are coming in and are extremely vital. And again, thank you for having us on the show, because this is an outreach opportunity. We're talking about not only investing within the company, but within the community itself, so we can grow our industry, grow our economy, and have a financially strong community. So we have opportunities right now available. My contact information, I can be reached at 713-640-8229. And my address for my email is my first name, Jackie.Aguilera, Aguilera, at hughLiteracy.org. And again, we have opportunities right now. As Sheri mentioned, we have a grant, and so we're able to work with the companies for minimal investment. And we want to, again, grow this. This is the future of workforce development. This is the future of adult education. And what has happened is we have been able to marry workforce and adult education so that we are now not only promoting the literacy of adults, but actually the financial empowerment, truly impacting the capability to make money, earn money, save it, invest it wisely, and then, of course, creating a financial cycle that will break the barriers of generational poverty and, again, build the businesses up and impact positively their bottom line.
Now, you gave us your contact information. What's the website address for people to go out to?
It's www.hughLiteracy.org, HOULiteracy.org.
And now, if you're driving in your car right now, don't feel like you have to take a pen out, because you can always go back to the podcast and get it. And as an addition to this, on the podcast, we're going to have show notes, so it'll have the website link on it as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. So there was a second program that you mentioned, because I'm all fixated on this Houston at Work, because it sounds like our English at Work. It sounds like such a great program. But there's other programs that you have out there. What was the second one that you wanted to tell us about?
The second program is called the Houston Community-Based Job Training Program, where we're going into communities and offering adult education skills, so math and English skills, offering joint workplace certification courses. So we're doing that in conjunction with Houston Community College and some of our community partners throughout the city, but we're offering courses like AutoCAD that might take 100 hours to complete. So 3 or 4 weeks, a student can get, or a learner in the community can get a 100-hour course in adult education skills so they can take and pass the AutoCAD class, and they can do that in a short period of time. We also have certified nursing assistant programs, truck driving programs, pipe fitting. We have electrical apprenticeship programs, business office assistant, medical billing assistant. So we have several certification programs. Even if you haven't gotten your high school equivalency, we can help you get through a high school equivalency, get the English skills, and then get a certification class.
Wow.
So that you can get into an entry-level job at $13 to $15 to $17 an hour. If you're in a job right now in a community throughout our city and you're working, making $8 an hour minimum wage, you can actually in 1 month get a certification and the skills you need to get out and get a higher paying job.
And let me tell you, Chris, this is why we wanted to pitch these programs at the same time, because as a business, you can have both of these opportunities. This is not an either or. So we come in, we assess the employees and where their needs are. If their needs best fit English at Work, we're going to support them with English at Work. If they best fit on an adult basic education level, we can provide those services. We can start bridging and making this pipeline to a transition to a well-rounded, well-educated, and well-prepared workforce with both of these opportunities and providing these certifications as well.
I love this, because not everybody's path is to go from high school. So not everybody graduates high school.
Right.
But if you graduate high school, it's not always your path that you're going to college, and then people are out in the workforce with no real skills available to them. What you're talking about are skills that they could turn around and get not just a job, but a decent
thriving wage job.
So that's fantastic. Part of this is going to the employer, but then other parts of this is going out to the community, either through partners like HCC, where you're actually going out there to meet them. That's fantastic. AutoCAD,
pipe fitting, truck driving,
general office assistant specialist, child care.
Wow.
Certified nursing assistant. There are lots of opportunities, and we work with partners throughout the city, the Alliance for Multicultural Services, AMA, Fort Bend Literacy Council, Community Family Centers. We have agencies all over the city, and we're offering these certification classes and these courses in their centers around the city.
And that's part of the connection when you asked me earlier, Chris, about the bridge and my transition, because here it is, the opportunity to host these classes, to be a certification host site is there. So again, we're also strengthening our CBOs and the members of Houston Center for Literacy Network.
Wow. When you mentioned the nurse certification in Houston, I mean, this is, if you're listening outside of the Gulf Coast area, it may not be as big, but when I had Anise Parker on here, she talked about the medical center generating enough revenue in the city to be its own city, and that's how big the medical center is for us here in Houston and the Gulf Coast. We have baby boomers that are aging. We have something like 10,000 people retiring every single day. Well, the downside of that is we've got the discoveries being made in the medical center where people's longevity, they're living longer, which is fantastic. But you have this need for the medical services, the healthcare, and so we're kind of an international hub for that. People will come from all over. So that's a great, I'd say it's almost like insurance for if you're getting into a career, that's one that you're going to be busy. It's like air conditioning in Houston.
Exactly.
You know you're always going to be doing something there. What have I not asked you that you want to tell me about any of these programs or even the program in general?
One of the things that we do, as well as working with these two programs, we have 75 agencies throughout the city we support. We support them with policy work, with professional development. We keep training teachers in adult education, and so far we have about 75 agencies we're working with. But we know there are adult education classes and programs throughout the city that may not know about us. We can train teachers. We can offer technical assistance. We help with resource distribution. We get computers donated by CenterPoint Energy, by Comcast. When we get donations from companies throughout the city, we then distribute those resources throughout the city to our agencies and centers throughout the city. So we have put in computer labs all over the city for small programs that can't afford their own computers, desks, chairs, classroom equipment, curriculum, everything that a center would need to help get a class started, an ESL class or an adult basic education class, which is the class leading to a high school equivalency. We can help with all kinds of resources for that.
That's a huge resource. I didn't know that was available. And I think that Houston, we have so many resources out there that there's just not that people talking, the cross-pollination of organizations out there. For you to say that, there are many organizations I think that would benefit from that if they knew about that. Are you guys partners with United Way as well? Or?
People have called us the United Way of adult education. Okay. We do work with the United Way. We work with Houston Community College, San Jacinto Community College. We work with Houston Galveston Area Council, the Texas Workforce Commission. You name it, we work with them. We are the Mayor's Commission. We're a coalition of 75 to 100 agencies working together to create a strong adult education and skills development program and pathway throughout the city. So there's not anyone in the city we do not work with or will not work with. We work with Houston Independent School District, the Houston Public Library, Harris County Public Library. You name it, we work with them.
Well, that's great. It's
such city council members, all of the city council members and the mayor.
Wow. So this is such a great program. That's why thank you, Jackie, for having
Thank you, Chris.
because this is something people need to know about it. How are you guys funded? I know you mentioned the grants earlier. What are other things that, let's say that you're not an employer, but you'd like to help out? What could somebody do that would want to help out?
So we're funded in a lot of different ways. We have some federal funding, some state funding, some city funding, foundation funding, individual funding, and then special event funding. We have coming up June 1st, the Mayor's Literacy Breakfast. It will take place at the River Oaks Country Club. We have special guests. Of course, our mayor, Mayor Turner, will be there speaking, but also Houston Astro Carlos Correa is our honoree, and we're excited about that. And we're going to be talking about what his family was able to do for him, how his mother and father worked several jobs to get him where he is, and how he moved his family here to Houston to give his younger siblings a chance at a better education, to learn to speak English and to become what Carlos has become for our city. So we're excited about that. On our website, we have a link to the Mayor's Breakfast. It is at the River Oaks Country Club. It starts at 7:30 in the morning. It's over, and we promise to have you at work by 9:15.
There you go.
We're out of the River Oaks Country Club by 9 o'clock, but it's an amazing event, and you get an opportunity to hear the mayor talk about his family, his past, how he grew up with a mother who worked several jobs to get him to where he is, and so it's a great morning.
I love that. So I might have to go to that.
You may have to.
A lot of times those real life stories, when you hear people have gone through adversity to get to where they are, that's very inspiring. And if they can see, hey, there's a blueprint to do this, that's fantastic. We're bumping towards the end of the show here. What else would you like to tell listeners before we go?
One of the things I think that is important about what we do is that it's never too late to have a second chance. If you're in a rut and you're stuck in a job you don't want to be in, there are opportunities for you to go and do something else with your life. If you want to become a nurse, you can get a certified nursing assistant. You can start working in a hospital and then eventually get a higher paying job so that you can go to Houston Community College, get your nursing certification, and become a nurse. We are creating pathways for people who can start at a level. Maybe you may not be an engineer immediately, a nurse immediately, a doctor immediately, whatever it is you want to do, an electrician, but we can help you with a pathway to get where you want to go. And so if you're in a rut and you're living in this city and you're thinking there's got to be something more out there for me, but I can't afford it, we actually have scholarships for all of these courses that we're offering. It is at no cost to the folks that live in Houston. If you want to get into a certification class, we have scholarships that will pay for you to take the adult ed class, take the certification class, and get into a higher paying job. It's a great opportunity right now for the people of our city.
So here we are at the end of the show, and I'm just now finding out about the scholarships. I should have asked that right at the beginning. So let me just make sure. So people who are interested in this, there's no cost for them to get involved in it. Wow.
Just desire. Desire, commitment.
Wow.
Come on in.
And what you said earlier, it's never too late. If you're interested in getting a skill or getting technical skill behind you, this sounds like a great program. Well, we're right here at the end of the show. Sheri, Jackie, thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you,
fun.
Chris.
Thank
it's
you.
been a pleasure. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And you have been listening to KPFT Houston.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Money Matters Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, visit us on the web at www.moneymatterspodcast.com. drop us a line on SpeakPipe on the right-hand corner. It will receive any voicemails, questions, thoughts, concerns that you have about the show. In addition to this, we recently launched a Patreon campaign. Click on the Donate Now tab to hit the tip jar and find out what Patreon's campaign is all about.